What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Komaris, and as you can see by the title, for today's video, I'm going to be talking about Allen Iverson's recently released memoir, Misunderstood. And many people question why I was reading this book as someone who has always shown a lack of interest in sports, in pretty much anything athletic besides dancing or running. And the main answer is Allen Iverson. Like, he's an anomaly. Like, and also when it comes to athletic culture, black athletes, their mindsets, and just their life stories and their fashion, that is what lures me into athleticism and everything in that field. Allen Iverson is a very relatable person, and his book actually showed me how much I actually relate to him and have an interest in him beyond just his fashion sense. And that's exactly what I wanted to receive or get from reading this book. And with that being said, I'm actually just going to dive into the video and go into what this book is about. So, my prior knowledge on Allen Iverson was just basically knowing him for being a pioneer for fashion and his impact on the fit culture that is now in basketball. It was always a tradition to walk through the tunnel in a suit, and he always expressed like how he was totally against wearing suits and that he only wore suits to funerals and to court. And he felt like they were just depressing and just didn't align with who he was as a person, as someone who is always self-expressive and also dresses for comfort. This is also like the suit thing is also something that I noticed in high school. I would always question it myself and be like, why do they have to wear suits before game day? They have to be in all this discomfort and then put on, I'm talking about football players, and then put on another suit that's appears to be extremely uncomfortable. Like, why wouldn't you want your players to be comfortable and in something that I guess they would like or prefer over a suit the whole entire day to build their mentality for the game? But I guess everybody doesn't really think like that. And I'm also wondering, like, is this still a thing? Like, do they still do that? But that's neither here or there. Also, prior to like me reading this book, I always thought he was very short because of how everyone always mentioned him being smaller than everyone else. But he's actually not really short. He's just basketball player short. I thought he was like my height. I'm like 5'8", 5'9", more so 5'8". And he's actually 6 foot. And everybody always made me think that he was very much shorter than that, and that's not true. Another thing I knew prior to like reading this book was that he was a very emotional being. Just seeing clips of, interviews and just like his ads and stuff like that, he already appears to be a very passionate speaker. And even with his Instagram captions, like, he goes into full length. And you can tell that it's him over his page. He doesn't have I don't want to say he doesn't have a social media manager, but most of the stuff is definitely posted by him. And he just also seems to be a very down-to-earth person, and this book also really showed that to me as well. So now I want to get into my favorite takeaways from the book, and this portion is called Relatability. And in this portion, I'm just going to be talking about like how I related to a lot of the things that he said in this book, and I'm going to dive more into like the specific things that I related to that he said in this book, about his life and his viewpoint and things of that nature. So again, I took interest in reading this book as a non-athlete because I already knew a little bit about Allen Iverson and was totally inspired and, I don't know, encouraged by his mindset and mentality and his overall like aesthetic and style. And this book showed me that I could take interest in him beyond just that, and that we relate on a level beyond just that. And first, it was the family dynamics, and he talks about his mom being really young, and that being the reason why he was raised by his whole family, and that's something that I can definitely relate to. My mom was also young, but not like very, very young. She was like 20 when she had me. 2019, somewhere around that time when she had me. And I grew up being raised by all my aunts, uncles, and grandmas and granddad. My whole family, it was literally a tribe. Like everyone, I remember spending time with everyone and being raised and learning things from everyone, not just my parents. And he also talks about being a grandma's baby. That's something that I am as well. I grew up under my grandma majority of the time. But I did also spend a lot of time with my mom as well. But I'm also my grandma's child through and through. And something that I always say is that you can tell based off like how other people act as someone that's a grandma's baby. You can tell when others were raised by their grandma too, or they're just their grandparents in general. You can tell how much time they spent with their grandparents. And it's just a grandma, granddad, baby thing. Like, you can feel when someone else is your kind. Just off like their whole persona, aura, and also just the way that they act and carry themselves. Also, his relationship with his uncles. He talks about how they were basically seen as brothers to him, because they were very close to his age. And he even played sports with them, and they were the ones that really taught him how to play football. And he would even play with them and their older friends as well. And it's just relatable to me because that's the type of relationship I have with my uncles. I remember days where I would play the game with them. Xbox was our console, and they had a storage room in our house because we did live together. And I would play them and their friends in games like Fight Night, Def Jam. What's it called? It's like the Def Jam fighting game, Fight for New York, I believe. Mortal Kombat, Armageddon. That's my favorite one. Racing games, Midnight Club, Test Drive, Crash, Burnout, Need for Speed. We just used to play a lot of games, and I used to be like really good, and they used to always bet on me to beat their friends and stuff like that. So when he talked about like his relationship with his uncles, I definitely was like, dang, that's cool, because that's how I grew up too. And he also talks about like with his mom being young, he felt more like brother and sister with his mom, and that's something that I can relate to as well. Um, because me and my mom do have a very like close relationship as we've gotten older, I suppose. It's more so felt like we were siblings than mom and son. And we also take interest in like fashion together. Something similar that he says like in his book, like with his mom, and I'll get more into detail about that soon, is coming up actually. And he talks about like how he hated mornings, but he would spend the time staying up late with his mom. That's something that me and my mom do too. Sometimes like I'll just sit in her room and we'll just talk about pop culture, real life stuff, just anything, clothes, shoes, anything that we want to talk about. Or I'll just see what she watching and just tune in, talk about it, or annoy her for a little bit, and then go into my own humble abode and things of that nature. But yeah. So let's talk about fashion. He talks about how he believes that Reebok is his destiny brand, and it became from the moment when he was on trial. I'm not gonna get too far into the case because that's something that he's moved past on, and it was wrong that they convicted him of that crime because it was totally self-defense. But while on trial, the judge made a joke. Before sentencing him, she said a joke like, "Now it's our turn to just do it like Nike." And he says like he said to him, that's like God speaking to him like, that's why Reebok is your destiny brand instead of Nike or any other brand, because of that situation. And I think that's fair. That's a fair thought to have, because why would you make a joke like that? Another strange fashion related thing about this book is that Allen Iverson actually does not take full ownership of being the fashion icon he was, just because he feels like he was just dressing exactly like how everyone dressed at home. I guess he views himself as just the billboard for what was already happening. Like, he wasn't really like innovating anything new, that he feels like he wasn't innovating anything new. He was just being himself and also like paying homage to how everyone dressed at home. And he said he also like bought very big clothes just to not appear as the little man that everyone already claimed that he was, due to him being the smallest on the team. He also talks about how a lot of the older people on his team, and even like in the media, they would constantly talk down upon him because of the stuff that he would wear and things like that, and how he believes that he was able to slide more when it came to not wearing suits and being experimental with his fashion sense, because he was actually good, a good player. If you were someone and you was coming through the tunnel in this dripped outfit and you got on the court and you did a terrible job, which I believe that's kind of a thing nowadays. Everybody comes through the tunnel dressed up and they don't even get up off the bench. That's just me assuming. I'm not a sports guy, but if you know people that do that, I'm pretty sure you know someone who has a game, or just know someone that doesn't get off the bench, but they come through the tunnel clean as a whistle. He also says that he grew his hair out because of being tired of getting his hair messed up by barbers. So I'm assuming like he would go to like different barbers and things like that, due to traveling, due to changing locations and stuff like that. That's another reason why I grew my hair out in college, because I didn't want to have to go all the way back home for haircuts. And also I just wanted to go back to having long hair. His learning style is that he's a visual learner. And he talks about how he learned to play basketball just from watching. And I'm also a visual learner as well. Like, you can verbally tell me all the things that I am to do or how things are supposed to go, and you will be 100% wasting your time if you don't let me get into the field myself. Also, like, I have to watch people do it, but I also have to do it along with them and some by myself. So I guess that would make me a visual kinesthetic learner. And he says he's the same way too, so maybe he's a visual kinesthetic learner as well. But basically, I was just saying, like, sometimes seeing things done is more effective than verbally teaching someone something. And sometimes you have to talk about it and let people watch to pick up on what's actually going on, especially when learning things that are sometimes situational, like a sport like basketball could be, you wouldn't know like how to do certain things unless you are in that situation. Like, it's okay to learn the basics, it's okay to teach the basics, but you won't really learn situational activities until you get into the field and you experience something and you be like, okay, they got over on me, that's never going to happen again. And I'm going to be able to use my pattern recognition to know when that situation that happened that I disliked has the possibility of happening again in this current moment, and I'm not letting that happen. I also relate to Allen Iverson's stubbornness. Often he talks about how, with his coaches, especially Coach Thompson, how he now reflects on how he wasn't really hearing him out most of the time, and now claims to know that he was actually right then, and even then he would know that he was right, but he wouldn't say it or act like it. But he still wanted to do his own thing. This was actually me in 6th grade. I had a band director. They randomly put me in band, and his name was Mr. Champ. I didn't want anything to do with band because I felt like that wasn't my talent. That wasn't a talent that I had. And in that class, I struggled with reading music. I played baritone, and I was struggling with reading music. I would literally watch everyone else play songs and fake like I was playing, and he would literally point me out and be like, you ain't playing. Why you not playing? And I would watch everyone else play and their fingering, and I would write them. I would memorize what fingers they're doing for each note, and I would write 3, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, like which fingers were down, which vowels were down, and stuff like that. And he would literally take my book and be like, get this new one, stop writing down the numbers, this and that. You need to actually learn how to read music. But I could not understand reading that music. Like, it just felt like a foreign language to me. And it got to the point where I was really giving him a hard time. Like, it's his fault that I'm in this class. And by hard time, I was meaning like I was literally just sitting in there like, ugh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to do this, that. Like, we had, I don't know how I even got out of the winter thing recital that we were supposed to do. Like, I literally didn't do it, and I don't know how I got out of doing it. Maybe I just took the bad grade or something. I don't know, but I literally could not get myself into that. And now, it's kind of like God has punished me for that, because now I want to learn how to read music. Now I want to get more into music. And when I was in college, I couldn't stay out of the music building. Even my senior project capstone was music related, and I had to spend time with the band directors and stuff like that, choir directors, and it's just all the time, like, while I was in there, I was just thinking about him and how I gave him such a hard time, and he didn't deserve that. Even though I know it probably wasn't as bad as he's experienced, because many people get placed into band and they don't have no interest or intention on being in band, but some actually end up enjoying it and end up staying. But me, on the other hand, I wanted out. He also talked about how they wanted him to drop his friends, and that made him hang with them even more and include them in even more things because he's stubborn. And that is something that I applaud him for, actually, because most of the time they were just saying that because they was black, but he actually had friends that were protective over him. Like, he has a friend named Michael Jackson that he talks about will always be the one that could calm him down, and just off saying, hey, or just Bub, what his name? His Bub, because his nickname is also Bubba Chuck, that family calls him. And he said once he would say Bub, it would piss him off, but him just saying it would instantly calm him down and let him know, like, hey, I need to chill. This is also relatable when he talks about, like, how he returned home from college, or just, like, trips, when it came to, like, training. And he would come back home during these breaks and things like that and see not much has changed. And this goes for not only just like the scenery or living situations, but this also goes for like the mentality of family members, family dynamics, relationships, and stuff like that. Like, not much has changed, but some things have changed. But if they've changed, they changed for the worse and not the better. And it makes you feel like you're the only one actually pushing for change when you come back and you see like ways that things just haven't changed or they're changed for the worse. That's my personal experience. Returning home to me felt counterproductive. Like, I would leave college and work so hard towards this new goals and pursue all these um opportunities, accomplish so many things, and see myself do things that I never really felt was possible, but I would watch other people living through other people's lives on YouTube vlogs, leave their home and thrive and stuff like that, to where I move for college and I have all these resources available to me, and I'm able to see how I can thrive when I'm in a place that's literally meant for me to thrive. And coming back home to where none of that is in existence and being here makes you feel so devastated and makes you never want to come back. And that's one of the reasons why I totally regret not taking the chance on myself and moving immediately after I graduated college. But instead, I came back home to reconnect. Well, I moved back home to reconnect with who I actually was and to actually grieve properly instead of distracting myself with work. I needed to sit and feel in what has happened to me and happened for me before I could realize what I learned and the type of person that these experiences have drawn me to become. And now I can say, after experiencing that, I know that I am able to thrive in any environment. No matter where I am, I know that I will thrive. Even being here, I'm not stuck here. This isn't my cell. This isn't my jail. This is a four-wall green room full of possibilities of me making history and bringing all these brilliant ideas that I have into fruition and changing my life and my family's lives for the better. And it's all possible no matter what room I'm in, whether it be this four walls of greenery or a penthouse. The next thing this book revealed to me about Allen Iverson is his authenticity. His writing cadence and speaking cadence are actually on one accord in this book. So many people release books, even memoirs, as a cash grab, and you can absolutely feel the inauthenticity because they probably didn't put much input on them. Like, he has a co-author for this book, but you can really tell that he sat down with his co-author probably more so to like help him flesh out his ideas or what he wanted to say, or was pushed to get into the uncomfortable things because they know what people actually want to hear from him. But it's still him. Like, he's speaking with slang, like he's saying things that he usually terms that he usually use. He's casually cursing throughout the book, and he's very, you know, expressive in the book, and even like the punctuation is like formatted to his speaking cadence, as I've already said. Like literally me reading this book, I can hear his voice like narrating throughout the book, and it's because it's just that close to how he speaks, if that makes sense. It's almost like reading text messages from a family member. Like when you're reading something from a family member, I don't know if everybody else has this experience, but me, I'm reading it in the voice of my people, and that's what makes their messages hit even more, because I know their delivery. And because I know Allen Iverson's delivery when he comes to speaking, it resonates in this book, and I hear it in my mind while reading. He's also very emotional. He's a very emotional being, and I've already known this. All the clips I've seen of him crying and just seeing like how expressive he is. But I actually took note of like all the times, well, many of the times that he talks about crying. On page 25, he talks about how he cried after losing every little league football game. Page 28, he talks about crying about not getting the number 33 jersey on intermediate football team. On page 33, he talks about how his mom actually forced him to try out for basketball, and he sobbed because he actually wanted to be a football player rather than a basketball player. On page 168, he talks about how he would cry seeing football players practice in the fall while he was in college playing basketball. He also talked about crying after losing the last Big East game on page 200, 2022. He talks about crying after every loss of losing 23 out of 24 games on page 268. He talks about crying while being potentially traded to the Detroit Pistons on page 310. And there's definitely other pages where he talks about where he was on the verge of crying, but you know, I couldn't fit that into the video. Something that I actually admired when it came to Allen Iverson in this book that newly introduced me to a different side of him is his network. And his network not necessarily being about the players, which he really didn't get into his relationship with Kobe or Shaq and things like that. He didn't get deep. He didn't dive deep into like how they inspired him and motivated him outside of like on the court. But he talks about how most of his mentors were his coaches, his uncles, and his stepfather. And with this, I basically said, although his biological father wasn't really in his life, he always seemed to have a God-given male mentor throughout every moment of his life. I want to start out with Michael Andre Freeman, and that's actually his stepfather that he considers his father due to his involvement in his life. His father definitely had a few legal issues, but it didn't stop him from being the main father figure in his life. And I even started like his docu-series on Amazon Prime, and he's in that as well. So he's been there and is still there. But I didn't want to like finish the docu-series before making this video. So maybe I'll make another video after talking about like this, but it all depends. But after so much of what I did watch is literally just the book in order. And that shows even more of the authenticity of this book. Another mentor he has is his uncles, Stevie and Greg, that we already talked about. His older uncles are the ones that actually taught him how to play football. And Mo is actually his mom's co-worker that Used to work at I don't know what type of plant, but it was a plant. And he always used to talk to his mom about like sports and his love and interest for sports. And his mom was adamant about having him to come see him play. And that's exactly what he did. He watched him play football in the neighborhood, and he was like, I gotta have him on my little league team. And then he ended up playing on the team. And that's what started him with football. Coach Bob Barefield, I believe, but I'm also conflicted. I believe this was his first basketball coach in middle school. Or football, but forgive me if I'm wrong, if I'm right. But one thing Coach Barefield always reminded him was that his image was important, and that he wouldn't let him or his friends out of the van until they had their hair combed, before even like practices or games. He wanted to make sure that they looked their best, and I feel like that's something that Iverson has definitely carried with him into the big league. Coach Mike Bailey, this was his basketball coach in high school. Coach Kaz, this was his high school track and football coach. Coach John Thompson, this was his coach at Georgetown College. Thompson actually was very tough and hard on him in college. But he was very understanding with Iverson as well. And when it came down to time of him like getting drafted or wanting to go into the draft, he was like, do what you gotta do. If this is gonna help you like support you and your family, do what you need to do. Like I said in previous, he talks about how very stubborn he was with Coach Thompson, and how he wished he had spent more time taking in his word and letting him know like, yeah, you're right. They pretty much had like a tough love relationship, but they both understood and had a kind heart for each other in times where it's needed, but a lot of it wasn't really like verbally until later on in life. Coach Brown, which was his coach while playing on the Philadelphia 76ers. And that's it. I know he played for other teams, but I actually don't recall him like really talking about the other teams, but talking about like his short draft to the Detroit Pistons. But other than that, I only see him talk about Coach Brown and not any other team. So at the end of the video, I usually talk about like words I've learned, or words that were basically like unfamiliar to me and that I actually added to my vocabulary bank, where I'm gonna like actually learn these words and figure out how to incorporate them into my vocabulary. So word number 1 is heralded. This is a sign that something is about to happen. The second word is jubilation, and this is a feeling of great happiness and triumph. The third word is clemency, and clemency is basically mercy or lenience. Vehemently means to do something in a forceful, passionate, or intense manner with great feeling. And lastly, we have tactician. And a tactician is a person who uses a carefully planned strategy to achieve a specific end goal. And people that I have to look up and like actually really like dive into who they are Todd Krinsky and Q Gaskin. I believe that Todd Krinsky is actually the president of Reebok right now. But they both were the ones who pushed for the idea of Allen Iverson to be signed to Reebok. They were the ones who saw his alternativeness, the fact that he was smaller than all the people, and everything that basically like made his style, and everything that basically made him an anomaly. They saw those things in him as pros, and they wanted to sign him and give him his own signature shoe. They pushed for him to have his own shoe silhouette that ended up being the Question, while he was named he was later nicknamed the Answer. I believe a little bit prior to that, and that led to him creating even more silhouettes, which were the Question, the Answer. I actually have a pair of Question mids right here, and I actually have a pair of Answer 4s right here. I am very much a Reebok guy, and a lot of it does have to do with Allen Iverson and his influence on Reebok and how black influence they are. But the thing that really like pushed me into Reebok is when they worked with Pierre Moss, and it made me realize that their inclusivity is not performative. While seeing like them work with Pierre Moss and Kirby Jean Raymond and also Allen Iverson, I was just looking at the difference in the time periods and how like they've been working like with black people. Even Shaq, like they've been working with black people. They've been helping them create signature shoes in sneaker culture, not just basketball culture. And it's a fashionable shoe that goes beyond the court. And the deals that they have, like Reebok has given Shaq and Allen Iverson a lifetime deal. And it just shows like sincerity on their part when it comes to connecting with black culture. It isn't performative. It isn't a money grab, cash grab. It is a genuine relationship and collab. And that's why I really, really love Reebok. And they also create some very innovative and dope things. Like, if you look at these shoes, like, they don't look like... They look like the type of shoe that people would call or consider like an unk shoe. But they're very cool. Like, the thing about this shoe that really, like, blew my mind is that you can see his face is implanted into the shoe. So we all literally carry a part of Allen Iverson with us. Like, even his tattoos are on here, and it says only the strong survive. And literally on the insole of each shoe, literally his arm tats are on the insole of each shoe. But yeah, now I'm just rambling, but I just wanted to say, well, that Allen Iverson is definitely an icon. For more of the reasons that he understands and doesn't understand. But even to me, someone who has little to no interest in sports for the game, but more so for the culture and the mindset. But yeah, that's all I have for this video. I'm actually going to end this video with photos of me doing a shoot that was actually inspired by Allen Iverson in 2022. All right, see y'all later. Thank y'all for watching, and please check out Allen Iverson's book, Misunderstood, and build your own thoughts, and go check out the docuseries after that. All right, thank you.